System note: power grids are synchronized machines. The headline problem after a global shock is not always no power. It is no coordination. 3 constraints matter more than slogans. 1. Frequency stability. In an AC grid, generation and load must match on the scale of seconds. When the balance breaks, frequency drifts. Protective relays do what they were built to do. They isolate. In a cascading failure, the system does not collapse as one thing. It fractures into islands that cannot agree on time. 2. Inertia and fast response. Old grids leaned on heavy rotating machines. Modern grids can replace some inertia with fast controls, inverters, batteries, demand response, but only if the controls survive and the operators can still coordinate. Hardware without governance is just metal. 3. The transformer bottleneck. High-voltage transformers are not shelf parts. They are custom industrial objects with long lead times, precise tap settings, and logistics chains measured in months. A region can have generation and still fail to transmit or synchronize it if the large iron is missing. In story terms, the West still has machines. It lost the chorus. There were no fireworks in the record, no cinematic sky splitting, no triumphant mushroom cloud to pin the blame on a single night. The footage that survived was mostly administrative. Sensor logs, insurance reports, the quiet language of failure. A seismic station in Nevada recorded a pressure front that did not match any known earthquake signature. A hospital generator in Rotterdam ran for 46 minutes after the grid dropped, then shut itself down when a coolant pump seized. A container ship off Lagos transmitted its AIS position 3 times, then went dark, then reappeared 10 days later with a different flag, a different crew manifest, and a new routing plan that avoided the old ports like they were contagious. The nukes were not shown, they were felt. 5 years later, you could still find the places where the blast itself had never reached, but the consequences had. A city streetlight that blinked green once, as if remembering a job it had done for decades, then died. A refrigerated warehouse full of thawed food and perfect, unbroken packaging. A suburban intersection where the asphalt was intact and the rules were gone, replaced by eye contact and hand signals. The world did not end everywhere. It ended unevenly. At a darkened data center outside Phoenix, rows of servers sat in their racks like a museum exhibit. The air handlers were off. Dust had formed a thin skin on the top panels. In the corner, a single indicator LED still glowed. Emerald. Not the warm green of a status light meant to reassure. A colder green, narrow and clean, like a laser reflection. It flickered once, then it went out. In a shipping port on the west coast, stacks of containers lay abandoned. The cranes stood still against a grey sky. Salt wind had begun its slow work on the steel. Vines and moss crawled across the corrugations in deliberate lines, finding seams, following moisture, obeying physics. The plants were the only colour. There was a rhythm to it. In the places where the old world had functioned by schedule, life now worked by opportunity. Elsewhere, in a skyline of half-built towers in Asia, whole blocks stayed dark because no one could justify turning them on. Yet the lower floors glowed softly where people had moved in and planted gardens under scavenged grow lamps. Emerald leaves climbed concrete like they had been waiting for permission. Europe adapted in a way Americans recognized but could not reproduce. A traffic intersection in Prague had no working signals. Still, people moved through it with practiced choreography, as if the city had decided the signals had been a luxury. The only light in the frame was the green of a community greenhouse, a small dome bolted to a ruined tram stop, venting warm breath into cold air. The common story was not apocalypse, it was rerouting. New trade lanes formed that did not center on the west. Cargo moved by rail in corridors that used to be considered unimportant. A bank in Nairobi became an insurance desk for shipments that never touched New York or Rotterdam. An agricultural cooperative in Hanoi learned to fabricate replacement parts for industrial pumps because waiting for imported spares was the same as surrender. And America? America remained. That was the strangest part. Not a smoking crater, not a myth. A place with buildings still standing and screens still glowing, but disconnected from the consensus that made those things valuable.